On the 4th of July weekend, there's going to be some major fireworks, but they're all going to be at the movie theater when Spider-Man Far From Home gets released. Before Peter Parker swings back into action, let's dive deep into what has happened, where the story could go from here, and cover some of the biggest movie rumors to date about the film. Spider-Man has had a huge impact on the MCU, and Far From Home can help lay the groundwork for the whole connected universe moving forward. Spider-Man joining the MCU was a dream come true for superhero fans and couldn't have come at a better time. Through a crossover deal with Sony, Spider-Man swung into action for some scene-stealing moments in Captain America: Civil War before launching into his own solo movie. And the third time they relaunched the Spider-Man franchise truly felt like the charm, because Spider-Man: Homecoming was awesome. The overdone Spider-Bites-boy origin story was ditched for a world where Spider-Man was already saving the neighborhood, all while dealing with a busy high school life in the process. As Iron Man served as Spidey's mentor and guided him through the superhero life, Parker went up against his first foe, the weapon-stealing Vulture. Turns out, the big bad was also the father of Parker's homecoming date, complicating things a tad bit more. In the end, Spider-Man saves the day, Stark invites him to join the Avengers and go public. But Parker decides to stick to his roots and try to be a normal teen for as long as possible. So, with Homecoming over, was the standalone movie wrapped up in a nice little bundle? Not quite. There were many questions left after the film. This includes the hilarious cliffhanger where Marissa Tomei's Aunt May nearly drops an F-bomb on film. We didn't see any follow-up to that in the Avengers movies, but the preview trailers have indicated that the supportive aunt has fully embraced the whole Spidey gimmick and is even using it to help with charity events and fundraising. Then there's Peter Parker's love life. Liz apparently moved across the country. And even though there were some early rumors, Liz and her incarcerated father will not be returning for the sequel. One and done for them. As for the timeline of the film, Spider-Man: Far From Home will take place after the events of Avengers: Endgame and be the official ending of Marvel's Phase 3 of movies. And speaking of, those Avengers movies certainly sent Peter for a wild ride. Once aliens started invading New York City, Parker went all out trying to stop him, and Tony Stark gave him the Iron Spider suit once their travels led to space. Despite his best efforts and some emotional interference from Star-Lord, Spider-Man was unable to obtain the all-powerful Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos during the battle on Titan. One snap later, and poof, Spider-Man turned to dust. While we never saw it on screen, a lot of people in Spider-Man's life turned to dust as well. This includes Aunt May, his best friend Ned, and classmates like Flash Thompson and MJ. Basically, everyone who would be essential for the Spider-Man sequel. For a majority of Endgame, Peter Parker remained vaporized dust, floating through the open space on Titan's atmosphere with a soul in some black, timeless void Parker clearly doesn't remember. Thanks to a snap from Bruce Banner's Professor Hulk, Parker was brought back, along with every other hero. During the final assault on Thanos at the Avengers' obliterated headquarters, Parker got to reunite with Stark, but their bonding was a little short-lived. While Parker assisted other heroes in keeping the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos and his army, he got very few scenes with Iron Man. Stark gathered the Infinity Stones, snapped his fingers, and defeated Thanos and his army, sacrificing himself in the process. Naturally, this loss was like losing a father figure for Parker. Who needs to see another Uncle Ben death on screen when the Parker-Stark bonding was built even bigger and better? After Stark's death, Parker had some key scenes at the end of the movie. One featured him mourning the loss of Iron Man with Aunt May by his side. A second scene showed Peter returning back to high school where he met up with Ned. 5 years after the decimation, a majority of their class will have graduated, kids from middle school will now be their age, and the huge gap will come with a lot of different consequences. The ending left us with a huge setup, a ton of questions, and shortly after, we were treated to a full-length trailer for Far From Home with even more answers. Upon multiple viewings, the high school scene may have even more significance than we realized. In the background of one of these shots appears to be actor Ben Mendelsohn in the role of an administrator for the school. For those of us that saw Captain Marvel, Mendelsohn played a Skrull in the movie. If he's working at Peter's high school now, could the actor be one of the first signs of a secret invasion? In the Secret Invasion comic book arc, the shape-shifting Skrulls revealed that they had been undercover for years, including taking the role of various superheroes. This story could play out further in the film, or have an even bigger build-up through a post-credits scene to help set up Spider-Man 3, Home is Where the Heart Is, or something like that. We cannot imagine so much press focus on Mysterio, only to have a majority of the film focus on the Skrulls. Plus, the Skrulls were just a major part of Captain Marvel. Expanding them into Far From Home may be a little overkill. Adding a tease for new directions in Phase 4 could make a huge difference though. And seeing the Skrulls invade Parker's high school could have a big impact on the students, well, everyone except Liz, who moved away. After wooing Liz for a majority of Homecoming, Parker may have his sights set on a new love interest, MJ. She was teased through a lot of Homecoming, and her return is going to be the focal point for Parker's romantic interests. Along with Aunt May and Ned, it also appears as if MJ may be one of the next people to find out he's Spider-Man. With others being so receptive to the idea, a romance may be out of the cards initially, as MJ may not want that kind of pressure and danger in her life. Not everyone should be so happy-go-lucky that this young teen is a crime fighter. While MJ and Peter are filled with plenty of angst and slow build, that may not be the only romance we see in Far From Home. As trailers indicate, Happy Hogan is back, but he seems to have his eyes set on Aunt May. The chemistry between the two is already great, and Aunt May entering the world of dating after the loss of Uncle Ben was considered by the writers as Homecoming was in the development process. So they obviously decided to go all in with the sequel. Now we just have to decide what to call them. Aunt Happy? Mayhap? Hogue-May? How about you let us know a couple nickname would be ideal for Aunt May and Happy Hogan in the comments. And with love comes loss. We've already had many weeks to process the death of Tony Stark, but all the feels will come swooping back in with Far From Home. Peter Parker still tries to deal with the passing of Stark, how to live in a world without him, and how to be a hero without Iron Man by his side. The loss of Stark as a friend and a mentor obviously has some deep implications for Peter, and the hero may struggle to stay grounded or properly grieve the loss. One way to help with this grief? A class trip. And no, Parker and his classmates aren't going upstate or for a scenic drive through the neighboring Connecticut. Half the world's population has just come back to life. Things would probably take years to settle down, but no matter what, this high school will not cancel the highly anticipated overseas class trip. Peter and his pals are going to Europe, making Parker even further away from the adult figures he has left, like Happy and Aunt May. At least he has some new suits to wear along the way. Homecoming was filled with some great Spidey suits. We even love the cheap homemade one. One of the coolest suits to look for in Far From Home is the new black Spidey stealth suit. This Spider-Man suit helps him creep through the night without bright red and blue colors putting the spotlight on him. The black suit may bring back memories of Tobey Maguire in the Spider-Man 3 black suit, but don't worry, there's no symbiote involved in this one. Of course, we'll see some action in the classic Spider-Man suit, which will be awesome to see among some great landmarks around Europe. One of his most advanced suits will make its return, the Iron Spider suit. One of the more important gifts from Tony Stark, Parker can use the suit to take on the elementals and still feel connection with his former mentor. Thankfully, another new mentor is coming to town, the man known as Nick Fury. After flashing back to the 90s and showcasing a young Nick Fury and Captain Marvel, the hero and his eye patch are back for a modern go-around. Agent Maria Hill is by his side once again, and the two recruit Peter to help with a worldwide crisis. Whether we believe it or not yet is one thing, but Nick Fury has claimed that the effects of the snap have caused a multi-dimensional rift to open up. Yep, Peter, they're setting up a multiverse. And the first man to come through the multiverse, Mysterio, the classic Spider-Man villain. But if you took the Spider-Man trailers at face value, you could argue that Mysterio isn't a villain at all. The character is nice to Spider-Man, working alongside Nick Fury, and is out to stop the raging group of monsters known as the Elementals. Who are the Elementals? Well, we'll tell you. In the comics, there were 4 extra-dimensional humanoids known as Hydron, Magnum, Hellfire, and Zephyr. Each one has different powers related to forces of nature. In the trailers so far, we've seen a ton of Hydron and his water powers, but there's also fire, wind, and earth powers Spidey will have to take on. Of course, Mysterio is also stepping up to the plate to try to take on these baddies as well. There's obviously something fishy going on, especially considering how Mysterio is known as a master of illusion and deception in the comics. He originally began as a failed actor and gained some real superpowers in later versions of Spider-Man comic books. At some point, we'll see the evil side of Mysterio, and according to some theories, Nick Fury may be involved as well. Out of all the heroes in the MCU, Nick Fury decides to reach out to Spider-Man, acting a little sketchy along the way. Could this be the real Nick Fury? We're not too sure yet, but it may be the classic Spider-Man villain, the Chameleon, working alongside Mysterio to trick Spider-Man and defeat the hero. Is Maria Hill involved too? She's either getting fooled by Fury, or there's some other twist with her as well. Either way, these theories all connect to the fact that there isn't an established multiverse yet, or if there is one, Mysterio is not actually from it, rather he's just a trickster looking for some glory along the way. If you think the Nick Fury and Chameleon connection is surprising, just imagine some of the other crazy theories to pop up in the Spider-Verse. One of the biggest ones in recent weeks is the possible arrival of Deadpool.
What the
Obviously, this would be through a post-credits scene, but Far From Home is one of the big standalone film releases to take place after Endgame. With Endgame having no post-credits scenes, Spider-Man is the only film left to help set up the future of the MCU. There will not be another movie release until May of 2020. Sure, Marvel Studios could use YouTube and other platforms to release future trailers, but including a Deadpool scene in an official MCU film would be epic and cause enough chatter to last well into next year. But if we don't get to see the red and black of Deadpool flash across our screen, perhaps we'll see a little black and white. This time we're talking about Venom, and rumors have really been picking up about seeing Eddie Brock come face to face with Peter Parker. Besides the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 3 subplot, we really haven't seen a proper Venom and Spider-Man story on the big screen. With the massive box office success of Tom Hardy's Venom, the time may be here to integrate the characters and have the epic showdown once and for all. Whether it's Deadpool or Venom, we just want to see one crossover hero on the screen. And with so many rumors and anticipation for just the mid-credits or post-credits scene, the film has a lot of hype to live up to. But never mind the post-credits scene, because the whole movie alone should provide enough excitement and hype to last for years. Yeah, we are so ready for Spider-Man already, so we cannot stop talking about it. Are you as excited as us? Let us know in the comments how you think everything will pan out. Who would you rather see, Venom or Deadpool? Leave a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to Screen Rant for more great Marvel content. Thanks for watching.